large extent devolved into one negative thing after another. And I know it's unfortunate. A lot of people think it's unfortunate. It's quite almost everybody that the economy is the central issue for all of us. What we do to get the economy going, what we do to get people employed, and ultimately how we deal with things like the national debt, which is tied into that. I think that the national debt is best dealt with. I really don't think there's a whole lot of question about it. It's best dealt with if we have high employment. You know, that's how you ultimately deal with that issue, but you deal with so many other things. We really have just gone through a recession, which most of the commentators, most of the economic folks, the economists in this country believe to be the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. Now, that's extremely significant. Sometimes I don't think we realize while we're living through something exactly what it is we're living through, these events. It's something that doesn't happen every day in the country when people like that actually feel like they have to come to the Congress. I can assure you it's the last thing they want to do, come to the Congress with their hat in hand and get the Congress to try to bail them out. Well, the Congress then immediately started researching the thing, trying to see what they needed to do. But these guys came to the Congress when the thing was actually flat out on the verge of collapse, and they said, time is of the essence. You've got to do something. You've got that ownership interest in those big banks that were being propped up, being bailed out. It rewarded them for their behavior. They didn't have to suffer the consequences that people need to suffer when their business model doesn't work and when they put so much of the country in jeopardy. Because these banks that we were talking about, they controlled something along the lines of 65%, don't hold me to that number, but it's a big number of the GDP of the country. So that's how significant the thing was. And the significant economic downturn really was the result of the private sector shutting down to a large extent. You had people not wanting to invest in the private sector anymore. You had people, consumers, not wanting to spend money anymore. They pulled their horns in and they said, we don't have confidence in our economy anymore. And we're not going to we're not going to keep participating in the economy until we have confidence that we're headed in the right direction. $700 billion out there, you're still not plugging a $2 trillion hole in the economy. You've still got a big hole, and you've still got job losses. So, in addition to the stimulus, we also enacted quite a number of tax cuts and tax incentives, tax breaks for different businesses, small business concern. In general, if we have more growth, we're going to need more energy, and we're going to need it from a variety of sources. We're going to continue to need it from coal. We're going to continue to need it from oil. But we also need to have a strong renewable energy portfolio. And I think a lot of people believe that that is the case. Benefit. And this is what people forget. People who want to always cut. And again, I don't like having deficits. I really don't. And we've got to get a handle on it. But we've also got to be very careful about what we do, because Kentucky is the beneficiary of at least 1.5 federal dollars for every dollar that we send up to Washington. We are a net beneficiary of government spending, and we will get hurt fairly dramatically if we stop this process, particularly the direct appropriations process, so the Congress be able to control all the money. For not only through the appropriations process will they be able to control all the money, but also through the bureaucracy. The big states will control all the money. Let's take EKU, for example. And I think Tom mentioned EKU would not have the ability to get a biofuels program if someone like myself didn't take an interest in EKU and make it happen. EKU could never, in a competitive grant situation, when you've got nameless, faceless bureaucrats up in Washington who, no tell them where they're from. They're probably from somewhere along the East Coast or California. They write the standards, and the standards are written in such a way that they favor the institutions that are already in the game, the institutions that already have the infrastructure to be able to do this. So you're going to get, through the grant process, through the executive branch, through these standards that they write, you're going to see everything go